GPU prices, they're finally coming back down to earth. But all of a sudden, RAM, it's just shooting through the stratosphere. A lot of companies at this point are not even creating a static price for RAM. And on their websites, it is turned into dynamic pricing, meaning that RAM costs are going to be the equivalent of going to the gas station and you never know what you're going to pay for it until you get there.
Do you think there's legitimate fluctuation in demand to cause such dynamic pricing in RAM? Or do you think it really is just corporations trying to maximize profits and using AI data centers as an excuse for slamming prices and making them super high? Have you seen like stores like Target where they're listing like Christmas trees on the outside tag as like $150, and then they're slashing the price for Black Friday to be $125. But then
Uh-huh.
on the actual box of the Christmas tree, it has printed MSRP $120, but they cover it up. Have you seen that?
Yes, I've seen that. There's been like Target's been notorious for this, Walmart has too, and Amazon is notorious. Good evening, everyone. This is the BedTech Show. Ben, what are we talking about today?
Pretty straightforward. We're going to talk about two things today. First, we're going to talk about the ridiculous RAM prices that's happening right now. Second, we're going to talk about Meta's Chinese AI glasses competitor. So let's dive in. Ethan, tell me about these RAM prices that are going up. You were telling me about it and I just couldn't believe it. What's happening right now with RAM? What is
This
going
is
on?
this is bananas. So GPU prices, they're finally coming back down to earth, but all of a sudden RAM, it's just shooting through the stratosphere. It is insane. Right now, we've got a lot of AI data centers being built. With this big boom in AI, everyone's wanting these semiconductors for memory and RAM, and that is like the gist of why RAM is so expensive now. So just to reference for everyone here, in August of this year, 2025, just a few months ago, you could get 64 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM for around $190. A reasonable price for that.
Yeah.
If anyone was ridiculous enough to get that amount of RAM, you could get it for $190. Great price. Now, if you were to look at any store that has RAM, that same kit for 65 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM is now $700 and costs more than a PlayStation
Wild.
5 Pro. So, a lot of companies at this point are not even creating a static price for RAM. And on their websites, it is turned into dynamic pricing, meaning that RAM costs are going to be the equivalent of going to the gas station and you never know what you're going to pay for it until you get there. And, you know, this is also going to start to affect SSD pricing as well. So now is like the worst time to rebuild or to build a computer. It might be a good time to upgrade with your GPU because now they're finally at a reasonable price. You can get 9060 XT and 9070 series or a 5060, 5070 at MSRP or slightly below, which is awesome now. It's great news for gamers. But if you need to get more RAM, now is probably the worst time in the history of computer building to get RAM. It would almost be better to buy a pre-built gaming PC just for the RAM. And then um, that would almost be cheaper than getting the.
Yeah. Yeah. Then pull the RAM out, put it in your own setup. That's crazy. I can't believe that. I can't believe it's such dynamic pricing. That's like really surprising to me. Um, do you think let me ask you this. Maybe put on your tinfoil hat for me, Ethan.
Okay. Ooh,
Okay. All
love
right,
those.
tinfoil hat time. Good old Ben with his conspiracies. Do you think there's legitimate fluctuation in demand to cause such dynamic pricing in RAM, or do you think it really is just corporations trying to maximize profits and using AI data centers as an excuse for slamming prices and making them super high?
So I think there is a demand. I think this increase in price is the corporate greed here.
Mm, hmm.
Because I don't think this warrants a three times level increase
Yeah,
in RAM for this. I mean, with GPUs, their need, we saw the increase in price. It was not three times that amount.
no, no,
Even with the crypto boom back during the pandemic, it wasn't this high. I
yeah,
really think this is kind of like, okay, RAM was cheap enough. We could really squeeze out a little bit more just for shenanigans.
yeah, or a lot of it more, right?
Yeah.
That is so wild to me. I can't believe that. I can't believe that it's gone up so much, tripled. That's so wild. And very frustrating, especially around the holiday season when people are looking to buy, upgrades or maybe build a PC or something like that. It's got to be infuriating. It kind of reminds you of like, uh, you know, um, these these companies that are selling RAM, they're marking it up 3x and then discounting it, like 35% for Black Friday.
Oh,
It's like, oh my gosh,
yes.
I'm getting an amazing deal. It's like, no, you're actually not getting an amazing deal. But it reminds me, have you seen like stores like Target where they're listing like Christmas trees on the outside tag as like $150 and then they're slashing the price for Black Friday to be $125. But then
Uh-huh.
on the actual box of the Christmas tree, it has printed MSRP $120, but they cover it up. Have you seen that?
Yes, I've seen that. There's been like Target's been notorious for this. Walmart has too, and Amazon is notorious because uh,
Oh yeah.
so my wife and I have different accounts, and
Hmm.
I Amazon, since it tracks everything, it'll track what I look at, and it knows exactly what I like to get. Like I like to get a lot of
Yeah.
electronic consumer electronics, and so all the time I'll see consumer electronics with discounts. I have my wife look at that same thing. It'll show on my account that I'm getting like 30% off. It'll show the price
Mm.
for like an SSD at $150. I'll go on her account, no discount, same price, $150.
That is crazy. That's so stupid. I've also seen that with like Prime and non-Prime memberships. Like I've seen Prime members, it'll show like a massive discount or a bigger discount. And then for non-Prime members, it'll show the same price or like a cheaper price, but that's the standard price. That's not like a discounted price.
Mm.
And it just goes to show that, like they a lot of sellers on Amazon, they'll mark up what they were selling for Prime members and then slash it to make you think you're getting a deal. I think we see that. I think that actually happens a lot. Maybe we don't see it a lot, but I think it happens a lot consumer in consumer goods. Maybe even in like business to business, like B2B.
Yeah,
I still think that even happens too, where it's like, oh yeah, this is like a $4,000 offer, but we're slashing it for you to be $100 or $1,000, whatever it might be.
yeah. And so, I think as like consumers, we should all band together and create a class action lawsuit against all these corporations for false advertising. Because this is exactly that's like legitimate the steps for what's false advertising.
No,
And
like yeah, genuinely it is.
yeah, and it's just annoying that that corporations can get away with this. And what's even more annoying is that I fall for it because every time that I see that it's like 30% off, it's like, oh, I hit buy now. That's not even thinking about it. Like I just
Yeah,
hit it and it comes.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And the problem with that is like companies are like, well, you liked the price that you paid for it because you thought you were getting a deal. And so is it that big of a deal then? Like, I mean, is it that big of an issue? What I mean
Mhm.
is, is it that big of an issue if you're willing to pay that price at the end of the day? But it's the psychology behind it and the manipulation behind it that really pisses me off.
Yeah, me too.
There was another one. So I'm like a member of Fabletics, which they have like active wear, athleisure wear, you could say. And if you're not a VIP member, then you pay their regular retail prices, which is pretty expensive, not worth the regular retail price by any means. Their regular retail price is comparable to Lululemon, and their gear is good and it's nice and it's similar to Lululemon, but it's not equivalent in quality. Okay. But I'm a VIP member, and so I get heavily discounted offers, and they are heavily discounted from retail. But one thing that really pissed me off was they sent me an email that said, like, it said like 60% off everything. Literally, that's what it said. Not up to 60% off. It just said straight up 60% off everything. I click on the email, go to the website, banner up top, 60% off site wide. I'm like, sick. There's a pair of pants that I like. They're new. They just released them. I go to the pants, not 60% off. And I'm like, what what the I was like pissed. I'm like, you are claiming false advertising 60% off everything, not
The
up
whole
to
website.
the whole website. And it's not up to. Like, I hate the up to, that's
Yeah,
that's another gripe of mine, but like, okay, fair play, No, straight up 60% off site wide. And I was like, this is a lie. This is a lie. It made me so mad. I hate when companies do stuff like that.
I know.
So
They all sit on a throne of lies.
100%. And they get away with it too, because we're like, I'm not going to hire an attorney to go after these people. That's not worth it. And by the time the class action lawsuit happens, and if we do win, the law firm is taking 40% of the cut, and then you're splitting the rest of the 60% of the cut with like thousands of other people. And so you're getting
Mhm.
like $100 out of all that time and energy,
If you're lucky.
if you're
You
lucky. Yeah.
usually like every time I get those notices, like, hey, you're part of this class action lawsuit, and I get like 12 bucks through Venmo.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, thanks.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, but I'm with you 100%. We should band together to go after these corporations that are like doing ridiculous stuff with markups. This RAM situation is really out of control.
Yes.
What do you think timeline is for this? Do you think this will cool down come the new year?
It, I think this is going to end up being like into next year, probably mid-June. This is just me throwing something out
Wow.
there. I
Sure.
think
Yeah.
this isn't gonna be a short-term thing. I think
Mm,
everybody's gonna be this is gonna affect everything, like especially like those companies and people that are making custom computers that on their website for people that are not just pre-built. This is gonna affect their prices with that, and it's
yeah.
just gonna make everything harder for the consumer.
Yeah, for sure.
AI is just ruining everything. It's it's
Honestly.
great, but it's ruining everything.
It's a double-edged sword,
Yeah.
you know? It really is. Pros and cons.
And
Well,
as you
bummer.
were talking, you reminded me something. This is like completely off the rails and way out there.
Oh, let's hear
Lulu,
it. I love this.
Lululemon.
Yes.
Fun fact: to
Okay.
the creator of Lululemon was such a racist. He called it Lululemon because Asian and the Japanese culture cannot say L's very well. And
Yeah.
so he wanted to do this just to make fun of the Japanese Asian.
Yeah, dude. I've heard that before, and I legit didn't believe that. And then if you look it up, he's literally quoted and says it straight up. He's like, "Oh yeah, I made it to make fun of Japanese people because they can't say L's." It's
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, this guy's horrible.
Yeah,
But at the same time, Ethan, at the same time, hold on, hold on. You see my back?
let him cook. Lululemon.
I'm wearing a Lululemon sweatshirt. Also,
Nice.
also, I don't know if you can see my pants. I'm wearing Lululemon joggers.
Nice.
So, although I don't agree with the guy being racist, I do like the gear.
Th-
So,
Their
don't hate
product's
me.
wonderful.
Don't
I
hate
love
me.
their product.
Product is great. Product is great. Makes a great product. Maybe he's not a good guy. It's kind of like what was it? It was like Abercrombie or Hollister, the CEO was like he was getting backlash for not making bigger sizes. And he was like, I don't make bigger sizes because I don't want bigger people wearing my stuff. My stuff is for attractive, fit people. It's not for fat people. And dude, he got hammered for that. He got absolutely hammered for it, dude. It was crazy. It was so
Oh,
wild. That was years ago. But dude, yeah, there was a lot of sour tastes in people's mouths for like Hollister and Abercrombie. But I remember when he said that. That was crazy.
yeah. That is crazy.
Yep.
It's amazing what some people can get away with saying and what gets through, and then other times, you know, we have to have a whole trilogy of Star Wars movies that are politically correct.
Yes.
Why does that have to be politically correct? But we have racist people naming a company Lululemon.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's wild out there. I mean, I mean, not to be political, but like even look at like our president, there's some wild stuff that he just
Oh
throws
yeah.
out on Twitter. And it's like, bro, oh my gosh, what are you freaking saying, dude? You are crazy.
Yes.
It's honestly insane. But yeah, you're right. There's people out there who just throw stuff out and you're like, I don't know if you thought about that before you said it.
Yeah, he's definitely unhinged.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100% unhinged, but you know, it is what it is.
Makes for great content. So,
Yeah. Yeah. You know what they say, bad all PR is good PR.
yeah.
So, but speaking of PR, um Alibaba is getting some PR with their AI glasses, competing with Meta. Did you hear about these? Quark
Not until
AI?
you not until you told me about it like just before we started this podcast. But as I was looking
Yeah.
into it, I'm like, these are pretty cool
Yeah.
and a valid competitor.
100%. Yep. Yep. So they were announced earlier this year, and I didn't pick up on it because I don't really follow Chinese tech too much. I mean, like EVs and phones is kind of what I get from a Chinese tech standpoint, maybe some drone and, chips. But other than that, like AI glasses, I don't really think of that stuff. Especially whenever I hear the name Alibaba, I don't think of quality. I
Oh
think
yeah.
of cheap knockoff that's low quality, easy to buy, drop shipping, reselling on Shopify. That's what I think of when I think of Alibaba. I don't think of like, oh, these are legit competitors. But no, they have they call them Quark, Quark, Quark AI glasses. There's two variants, the S1, which starts at around $536, depending on, foreign exchange. And then the G1, which is about half that. Um, and so they integrated its Qwen AI models with the device. And it like is linked to their Qwen app. And I don't know much about the Qwen AI models or the Qwen app, but it's homegrown. And
It's one of the
they're
fastest growing AI apps. It, like surpassed
is it
10 million.
really?
Yeah, it surpassed 10 million downloads within the first week of its public beta.
Wow, that's crazy. That's pretty gnarly. Um, so essentially think of it as like OpenAI plus Meta glasses together, right?
Mhm.
I think that's what Qwen AI is trying to go after is their version of OpenAI ChatGPT. And so you have the glasses and you have the behind back frame supporting these AI glasses, which is essentially Chinese version of ChatGPT. Um, and it's pretty cool. They're pretty sweet. They compete pretty strongly against Meta glasses. Really, the difference between the S1 and the G1 though is the display. There's not much difference like from a standpoint, but I'm really curious to know like would these be international or not? And I haven't really looked too into it, but they're going to be launching if they haven't launched already. I think actually they may have launched just this like little bit ago. Um, but let's see here. Let's see. When were they launched? First announced in July.
I think quarter 2. They had,
Oh, it's the app that was recently launched. Hold on one second. Let's just see.
oh, this is just the global wearables market. Never mind.
All right. Yeah, so they went on sale on Thursday in
Oh,
China.
cool.
Yeah. And they are going to release the international, but not until 2026. So, um, what are your thoughts here around Meta, their risk around having a strong competitor potentially here in the US? And then also, I'm curious, like we've seen what has happened with strong Chinese competition in the US in the past. For example, the phones like
Mhm.
Huawei. Um, do
Love
you think there'll
Huawei
be,
phones. I
yeah,
think like what they do with their phones, just wonderful. Side
dude,
side note there, but
yeah, I'm fully with you on that. Um, but like there's strong regulation around them. Like, do you think this will happen? Give me your thoughts here on these glasses.
I think this is really cool. I think I based off of like phone adoption here in the United States, I don't know that Meta has too much to worry about the market share here in the United States
Yeah.
for this. I don't know that there's going to be a super strong demand for these. I think this is great technology. There's some great things with it. I don't know that there's a huge demand here in the US for that. Since I mean, everybody has an iPhone here in the US as far as like the majority of people. So getting a getting like Huawei phones here in the US is not it's not as feasible as other phones. But with this, for instance, I I think Meta might be worried about their market share in China, or other countries where there isn't as much US
Yeah.
influence in them.
Yeah.
And so I I think this is great because it will hopefully spark Meta to be more innovative and make their products better, and finally give us some augmented reality glasses that aren't super thick. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I actually agree. That's a really good point. That I don't think Meta has to worry too much here in the US, but definitely in China for sure, especially being with Quark being attached to the Quen app. Um, I think that'll be a huge plus for Alibaba.
Mhm.
Where I see the Meta winning out in the US is like you're saying, iPhones, but also Meta did a really smart thing by branding with strong brands and not just coming out with full-blown Meta everything. So
Yeah,
they partnered with Ray-Ban at first, and Ray-Ban is a very strong brand in the US.
yeah,
And I think they partnered with OpenAI for their next augmented reality glasses. And everyone knows OpenAI, everyone knows ChatGPT. And so that's another very strong brand to partner with. Um, what I thought was interesting is um, Huawei phones were essentially banned in the US due to national security. We saw a similar thing with TikTok, right?
hmm
I would be really impressed with Alibaba if they're able to sell their AI glasses here in the US. I don't even know if they'll be able to,
yeah,
just because I can see the US government using national security as an excuse. However valid you think it is, right? It could be valid. It could be a valid national security reason. I don't know how valid it is. I don't look into that too deeply. I'm more focused on the tech. And I'd actually be interested to see them in person, try them out, compare them from a personal experience side by side. I just don't think that'll happen though. I don't think they're
Yeah.
going to come here. I will say, I also think Meta's glasses, especially partnered with Ray-Ban, they look better. They do.
Yeah.
The Alibaba ones, they do look like a Gen 1 AI glasses, you
Yeah.
know. They're kind of wonky on the sides where the cameras are, like where the frames are right here.
Yeah.
They're like thicker and it doesn't look as clean as the Meta
Yeah.
ones.
It's
But
not as sleek.
yeah,
Um, it, I think it's a good try, a good first iteration. And I think from this they can definitely learn to make the design a little bit better. However, you know, for first design, it's not terrible. It's not the worst that I've seen.
yeah, I agree. I think like prototypes for the Meta glasses were like super thick. I
Yeah.
think we remember talking about that. And um I was just like thinking to myself, like, I would never buy those because they're so thick and dense.
Yeah. I mean, even the Meta Ray-Ban glasses now are, in my opinion, super thick.
Mhm.
So I don't enjoy wearing them for extended periods.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
I
me,
I totally
they're
get
just
that.
they're too bulky.
Yeah. I have another question. So we talked about phones and glasses now um are now a competition between China and US tech. What are some other things that maybe you think China rivals us or maybe even is better than the US in when it comes to tech? I have
I
some thoughts around this, but I'm curious about yours. Yeah, go ahead.
I definitely think their EV tech is far superior to
I would agree.
um, to the US. Especially, I mean, they have the ability to hot swap batteries for vehicles, which I think is awesome. And I think something that the US needs to be able to adopt. They want to be able to have um, road trips, EVs kind of be the main vehicle for people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely think that technology there. Also, just kind of like their sustainability
Mm.
technology, because a lot of I've seen like in places where they use water for certain things like I guess wastewater from the sink gets used for their toilets so that they're kind of like recycling that water
Mm.
in a sustainable way. So technology around that, it just seems like they're all at another level. They also have like self-cleaning bathrooms. Like every time that somebody uses the bathroom, the whole bathroom enclosure will self-clean itself, swap out a new toilet,
Wow.
and for somebody else to come in within
Yeah.
like a minute. So the dangers of going that we face going to a public restroom, a gas station, you don't have to worry about that in
Mm.
the eastern side
Yeah.
over there. So
That's nice.
yeah, you never have to worry about somebody else's Taco Bell drink.
Yeah, that's great. I think so EV was like number one on my list. Um, you mentioned like recycling water. They're better at I think they're better with energy as well. My understanding is like they're strong in solar power energy and nuclear energy.
Yes, they utilize nuclear energy a lot.
Yes, yes. And I think in the US historically we haven't leveraged it as much as we should because whatever this is not political at all by any means, but scientifically it is the cleanest energy. It's the cleanest energy that we can have. And it's more of like a fear factor, I think, that is stopping US adoption. Although I will say in Utah, because you and I both live here in Utah, I noticed um, there's a big push in Utah to have nuclear energy here, um, which some people are really excited about and some people aren't.
We're
Um,
gonna need it because we're getting like the world's largest data center too here in
oh,
Utah.
explain more about that. The world's largest data center.
Yeah, so I don't know if you've seen that new data center that's being built. um, down toward you.
So
Um,
there's one in Eagle Mountain. Are you talking about Facebook's or Meta's data center?
let's see who's
Or are you
doing
talking
it.
about the government data center? It might be the government. There's one in Eagle Mountain that's massive. It's Meta's.
It's in, I think it's Millard County. Yeah,
Oh
I think
yeah. It's
it
it's
just
the NSA.
mhm.
The NSA is building a huge data center. It's in
Yeah,
Bluffdale.
4,000 acre site.
$1.5 billion facility.
Yeah,
Um, I think I've driven past this.
and just like
And
the
I was,
beams that they have for this thing that they're building it are just it's insanity with how big this is going to be.
yeah, I think I've driven past this and I've wondered like what is happening out there? It's like on the edge of the mountain. Yeah, it's on the edge of the mountain. That's crazy.
Yeah, so
There's a
we're gonna need a nuclear power plant to be able to power this.
yeah,
Because I mean, it's just gonna take all of our power.
yeah. Well, and then there's also a huge Meta data center in Eagle Mountain, which for those who don't know Eagle Mountain is it's west, it's northwest Utah. It's south of the Salt Lake, but it's west, and it's like in the middle of a like empty valley, and it's just this massive building. Um, and that's another huge one
Yeah,
that we know about. It's pretty big. You can just Google it. Just Google Meta Data Center Eagle Mountain, and you'll just see this massive, massive facility in the middle of a desert. Like it's actually pretty crazy. Um, it's huge, and that's another one that is going to be powered. So they're going to need power. But anyway, my point is back to the whole China discussion. I do think there's a few things that China is better than the US at, that we could learn from and catch up on. And some of those we are catching up on. I Googled this quickly, and one thing that Google said was quantum communication, which I didn't know about.
ooh,
But apparently, China is leading in quantum communication technology and has established the longest quantum key distribution corridor in the world. I don't really know too much about that. That's beyond the scope of my knowledge, but
yeah,
that
that
sounds
is
very
also
impressive.
beyond the scope of my knowledge. However,
Quantum
quantum,
key
like
distribution.
when I hear um, channels talk about quantum computing and its abilities, it just it it intrigues me,
Yeah.
and how fast it can make calculations and do things at such an astronomical level.
Yes. Agreed. For the quantum mechanic and quantum calculation nerds and fans and connoisseurs, drop a comment, let us know, give us some insight on quantum mechanics. Uh, we need to know a little bit more about this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and supposedly they have their quantum leap is a lot better than what Google Willow has been
Oh, wow.
coming coming up with. And
We've talked about some impressive stuff that Google Willow has come out with.
yeah, so China's doing it even better.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah, impressive stuff. I think there's a lot to learn. One thing I will say that they have as maybe, I don't know if you would say this is like a competitive advantage, because in some aspects it's a disadvantage, at least for the people, but it is a communist country. And so the government can pretty much control everything. And as a result, can make it very synchronized across the board, you know? And so maybe that's a competitive advantage for like efficiency's sake, right? But it's also what makes America so proud is the freedoms that we have, right?
Mhm.
And the ability for us to do what we want, say what we want, practice whatever religion we want, etc. So, um, I don't know. You think about stuff like that, you know. For example, like paying, there's like a payment system in China where you can just pay with your palm and it's like biometric scans your palm. And that's so easy and efficient, but it's government controlled and they know who you are and they know your face, they know your
Yeah.
palm, you know. I don't know if you would be willing to trade off that privacy and um that lack of security for the efficiency of just being able to pay with your palm, you know.
Yeah. You bring up a really good point because I didn't think about that, how, you know, the government dynamic
Hmm.
has an effect on that, an effect on both the US as well as China there. And I would agree with you, you know, probably that um, that type of government does allow for more efficiency, allows for kind of a more vertical approach
Yeah.
to how things go rather than a horizontal integration or supply chain.
Yeah. And I imagine the Chinese government, if there's a company in China that's building and becoming big and popular, I imagine the Chinese government is going to step in and say, "Hey, we're going to have some influence here, and we want you and we require you to integrate with this other company and to play nice with them."
Mhm.
Whereas, for example, like Apple and Microsoft, they didn't play nice with each other for a long time. And
Yeah.
I think that caused some inefficiency. Or for example, like a Google phone and an iPhone and the group chat texts, right?
Yeah.
There's inefficiencies there, right? But I imagine in China, the government would say, no, it all needs to be
WhatsApp.
aligned. And they, yeah, exactly, exactly. And so for the consumer, that makes it easy, right? Because
Hmm.
then you don't have to worry of like, oh, I have to create like a new group chat, or I don't have the functionality of like adding someone and removing someone. That was like a previous functionality we didn't have, right?
Yeah.
Um, so there's pros and cons, right?
Yeah. I agree.
So interesting take. But you know, you can't, although like we do compete with China on a lot of different things, you have to give recognition where it's due, and I think they are impressive in a lot of areas. So it's cool to see.
Yeah. It's cool to see a lot of what they're doing. And I'm hoping that, you know, we can learn from them and incorporate a lot of those within
Yeah, and be
our
the better
government.
country because we love America.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
That's the way dad does it. That's the way America does it. That's worked out pretty good so far.
Such a good line. Love that line.
So, well, we want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Really helps out our channel. If you didn't, that other button seems to work all right as well. Send it to somebody you dislike. As always, ringling that dingling button so you never miss out on any content as it's posted on the channel. Until next time, stay classy. Catch you in the next one.
Peace.